They call him Seatin, the man of legends.
Hey ladies and gents, how's it going? My name is Seatin. Welcome to an exciting video today. We're going to be having a look at the epic new dungeon, Gil Fortress. It's one of the 4 new dungeons, completely new dungeons introduced with the Nightmare Tide Rift expansion. And I must say, like, from what I've seen, like, of the new dungeons so far, they are looking amazing. They're really, really fun, really challenging, and one of these dungeons, I will confidently say, is like 10 times better than most of the Storm Legion dungeons. So I'm very impressed with the actual quality of the experts so far. They have been brilliant. They've just been so damn good. So today we're going to be looking at Gil Fortress. This is the first boss. He is called Seath. He is a large kind of magma molten stealth warrior, and he has a variety of abilities. The one that you can probably most prominently see is the kind of flame pizza slice thing that he is doing at the moment. If you get caught in the pizza slices of flames, then you will die. So you have to kind of rotate around the boss, which is going to be absolutely so much fun in pub groups that struggle to move out of simple AoEs as it is. So I can't wait to see that on live. That is just going to wreck people so hard. The other thing that makes that a bit more complicated is you'll see he's channeling an ability to a player, which will make them drop 2 earth crystals, one after like 2 seconds, the next one after 4 seconds. So this will gradually sort of clog up the platform. That player ideally wants to run it as far away as possible, because you want to keep the space around him fairly clean so that you can avoid the pizza slice pretty damn easily. As you can see, you know, we're trying to drop them as far back as possible, but you know, it is pretty difficult to react and get enough distance in that amount of time, especially for sort of you know, players who may have connection problems or just aren't that aware of stuff. So that's pretty cool. He also is basically skilled for spawning out of those little cubby holes, and they will run to one of the chains, and if they're not killed in time, I believe what they do is break free, and then they'll start hammering on the raid. We actually didn't find that out because we were smart enough to figure out, oh, ads, they look like they're going to do something bad when they reach the chain. How about we kill them beforehand? So we assigned one of the, I believe it was one of the mages, just to focus on repeatedly nuking them, because they are constantly coming out of the holes. Apart from that, there's an interrupt, and also he hits very hard on the tank. Notice what we're using a purifier. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the first boss. After you kill him, a few hounds will just randomly kind of come out of the fortress and start eating away at your raid, which I think is pretty cool. You know, it kind of took our group by surprise the first time we did it and wiped a few people, but luckily this time we were prepared for them, and I really look forward to it taking random groups just by surprise, all these hounds coming out and beating away at their party. So after you've defeated Seath, the kind of barrier comes down and you can enter the actual Gil Fortress itself, or Gyel Fortress, whatever you'd like to call it. I don't call it Gil Fortress because I am terrible at pronouncing stuff. And you enter a zone called the Houndry, which is where you fight the second boss, called the Hound Master. Now this fight is pretty damn cool. I'd say this is arguably, there are so many fights in here that I think are brilliant, and I really kind of like all the movement in this one. This is a very movement intensive fight. So what's going to happen are there going to be tons and tons of different dog ads spawning, and the dog ads all do something different. The flame ones, which the tank is tanking now, they can kind of be ignored. We just burn through them, as what they do is they just relieve a trail of fire, and for the most part of it, people don't seem to have too much difficulty just staying away from that trail of fire and moving out of it, so that's not too much of a problem. The other things that'll be going on in this fight are mines everywhere. You'll see just mines spawn throughout the room, and they will gradually grow in size. If you get hit by a red one, you will take a lot of damage and almost be one shot. If you get hit by 2 overlapping mines, you're pretty much dead. You'll be one shot. And there are also just a variety of odd stuff going around. You'll see this kind of like bigger magma hound comes up, similar to the ones that spawned at the end of the last encounter. That one hits really, really hard on the tank, so you have to quickly burn that one down just before before it devours the tank alive, because that makes, you know, healing an absolute nightmare. And then you're back on the boss, but it's just a continuing spawning of mines and fire everywhere that just makes this encounter quite exciting. You'll also notice the dogs are positioned on the outskirts of the room, so if you get towards the outskirts of the room, what's going to happen is that the dogs are just going to eat you and essentially one-shot you, which sucks. So you do have to kind of stay toward the center of the room, because if you go too far out, you know, one of these dogs is just going to nip you in the butt and just one-shot you. So they're kind of a kind of non-traditional barrier to encounter, a barrier to the encounter, so you're not, you know, just going to not be able to move out of it, but if you do move out of the fight space, then you get one shot. You'll also notice that as soon as you kill the second boss, you get a 12-minute debuff. Now, if you manage to kill the last boss before this debuff expires, you get a bonus piece of loot from the last boss. So that is something additional that I think is really cool, and adds kind of like a nice incentive to run this with a pre-made group. You know, you don't completely lose out if you don't kill it within the time period, but you can also remove the buff using a chest if you don't want that to be of any concern to you, which is, you know, what we ended up doing here by accident. Actually, one of our guys was like, oh, a chest, what does it do? So maybe change the chest to like something that people don't want to click on. That would be wonderful. So after a slew of trash, you're going to encounter the third boss, which is in one of the coolest rooms, definitely in the fortress itself, which is kind of like a pirate ship inside of a room. It just looks absolutely epic, this room, and I love it. So this boss is called Admiral Nezar. I probably butchered his name, but he is a kind of devil-horned pirate who just hits insanely hard on the tank. He has a variety of somewhat interesting mechanics. I'd say this guy doesn't have the most, this guy has the least interesting mechanics of all of them, but his stuff is still pretty damn cool. So he's going to drag everybody in and then do some fire AoE. You just gotta simply avoid that. That's pretty damn easy to take you know, deal with. The next thing he's going to do is he's going to be summoning ads throughout the fight. Ideally, you want to cleave these down, or for most healers, they can kind of overrun the tank, but, you know, most specs do have some sort of cleaving capability just to make it a bit easier for the healers. This was definitely the most healing-intensive fight, from just a pure healing standpoint. As you can see, you know, I had to switch to Purifier and really bring out some of the big guns in order to, you know, heal this boss successfully. So, the really interesting part about this fight is once he gets to about 40%, he just decides, you know what, I'm no longer going to be tanked, and the only way you can nuke him, he's going to chase after a random member of the party at full speed. And what that member of the party needs to do is just continue to kite him until he chases after a new member of the party. So after that percentage, he can't be tanked, and it's everybody's job just to do all the DPS that they can, try and burn him down before, you know, he reaches any party members or you get overrun by ads. And that's pretty damn cool. You'll also see that there are ads on the outskirts of the pirate ship. Actually getting close to them, unlike the other bosses, doesn't they won't one-shot you or anything, so you can get as close to them as you like. But those ads sometimes are summoned into the fight, so it's ideal that healers maybe stand a bit away from them to avoid being one-shot by an ad that's just woken up or being engaged into the fight. So this is the final room. I just kind of wanted to share this bit of trash just because it looks so cool, all lined up, sort of the hordes of fire elementals and demons kind of guarding Lady Glacia. But as you can see, right, you have to take out, like, I believe it's 2 or 3 packs, and then they all just burst and die. So that's bloody convenient, because taking out all of these packs one by one would take a lot of time, and Lady Glacia knows that. So literally after you take out a couple of packs, what she's gonna do is she's gonna say, you know, I don't have time for all this trash clearing either, and then boom, one shot all of the mobs in your way, and you can just walk right to the boss. But this room, as you can see, it just happened there. She's like, man, not having any of this, and you can go across the pathway right to the final boss, who is Lady Glacia. Now, the Lady Glacia fight itself is quite interesting. You'll see there are kind of floating orbs around the room, which I believe are called occultons or something like that. Occultons? I've totally forgotten the name of them. damn it. But they're floating orbs, and that is all you need to know. So she has a variety of mechanics. I don't fully understand this fight yet, but basically a couple of pro tips we've learned are that you need to stay away from the orbs. We really screwed up this fight. You'll notice, you know, we're standing in the fire when the orbs go off. The orbs are also going to be like juggling about and moving in like random directions. There's also a tank mechanic which will grip everyone into the tanks and deal quite a bit of damage if you do that, so everybody has to naturally stay away from the tank. However, there is an additional tank mechanic that what it does is basically it puts a blue circle around the tank, and everybody at that point needs to run into the tank and share a health reduction debuff. You'll see we totally failed that mechanic the first time, but luckily using overpowered purifier cooldowns we managed to save that. I just totally was like, every shield that I have on this guy, you'll see now we all run into this guy, and now that the health reduction debuff is split between the four of us, one guy missed out, so that the tank doesn't sort of run the risk of getting one shot to maybe healers that don't have shielding capabilities. But it seems like, especially in this fight alone, healers like Physician and Purifier definitely kind of rear ahead just due to the fact that they have so much shielding, and shielding seems just extremely valuable here. As you can see now, the kind of floating orbs are going just absolutely crazy all over the place, exploding. The tank is doing, you know, his kind of pull-in knockback ability, so it really does heat up. Luckily, like, a load of the orbs went over to the right, so that cleared a lot of room on the platform, which allowed us to get this kill and Lady Glacia down fairly easy. Just one thing that I wanted to kind of throw out there, we are kind of testing this dungeon in a mixture of dungeon and raid PTS gear, so it may actually, we may make it look easier than it actually will be on live. So that's just one thing to bear in mind, you know. We probably made this look a lot easier than it actually will be. And then what happens is there's some very interesting roleplay here where some dragon, who you will see throughout the Gabora Reef questline, is Lady Glacia's pet. She just kills her, becomes really powerful, and just goes off with her head and kills her. And there are some very interesting, very ominous characters in each three of these portals right above that kind of look like somebody's just torn a rift through reality there. But basically, yeah, there's some very interesting dialogue here, which for all you lore fanatics, unfortunately I'm not one of them, will add a nice buffer of story to this dungeon. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a bit of a quick look and a bit of a rambling at Gil Fortress itself. Have a great day and take care.